Mr. Chair. No comments on the actual bill. I'd like to make an addition to the bill. The clerk has an amendment which should already have been distributed. I asked that I be allowed to summarize the amendment.
Please.
So this amendment, which I'm introducing, my legislator with me here, Rep. Piscopo, would impose a temporary moratorium on battery energy storage systems until 8 standards were met to protect public health, safety, welfare, and environmental concerns. It would require minimum setback separation requirements, a mandatory process for identifying how to respond to thermal runaway and other emergencies, and that those operating these systems would provide funding for that, a mandatory process for evaluating the safety records of these types of battery systems, and establishment of best practices to protect groundwater, surface water, air quality, and other environmental resources in the event of a thermal runaway or other emergency, a requirement that the BESS operators provide bonds or other sufficient security to ensure compliance, and that the BESS operators have adequate insurance to cover the cost of any loss or damages caused by the BESS, and a requirement that they have sufficient personnel to respond within 2 hours for a thermal runaway or other emergency event, and a requirement that all the BESS facilities obtain a certificate of environmental compatibility and public need. Mr. Chair, I move adoption of this amendment, and I would like, when the vote is taken, it be taken by roll.
Second.
Motion by Rep. Anderson, second by Rep. Dubitsky. Rep. Piscopo, you want to make comments on the amendment? Go ahead.
Can I go first?
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah.
Can I add?
Of course.
Say something. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in mid-January in California, there was a giant BESS fire in Moss Landing in Santa Cruz. It burned for a few days. 1,200 were evacuated. The highway was closed for 3 days. And it reignited a month later. I was able to find a database. There have been at least 94 fires or thermal runaway incidents worldwide. These systems are coming to a town near you. There are at least 4 dozen that I found online proposed for the state. I watched a siting council meeting in January where one was approved despite being in a congested retail area, apartments, almost adjacent to a walk-in health clinic and a grocery store, and located on an aquifer. And I saw the siting council struggle with this, but there were only 2 no votes. Then I learned that in November, 2 of these were disapproved for equal or lesser concerns. It really seems like the siting council isn't sure how to deal with these, and kind of making it up as they go along, somewhat arbitrary, and they really need the guidance of establishing more regulations on how to deal with these. This originally, I thought I was going to bring this amendment to SB 1352 and Environmental and Technology, so there's extensive testimony there. But now that bill, I learned, died, and this bill was very similar. It mentions energy storage systems in a couple places, so I feel the amendment is germane. The firefighting community fully supports this moratorium. Peter Brown, who's president of the Uniformed Professional Firefighters Association, said that a temporary moratorium is a prudent and necessary step to protect our communities. Throughout the United States, at least 40 communities have enacted moratoriums. Of course, we don't want to stop progress on grid resiliency, but it's important we get the safety issues right. These BESS systems have fire and explosion risks. They lack standard regulations. They possibly incur environmental and health concerns, releasing hazardous chemicals to the water and air. The first responders, most of which are volunteers in the state, are not ready to handle incidents at these facilities. In some cases, the operators are more than 2 hours away. So it's important we get all this right, have public confidence before we allow this industry to grow. The principle at work is we need to put safety first. So a moratorium may slow down deployment of these systems, but it will also ensure the technology develops with safety as a top priority, preventing costly and dangerous failures in the future. I ask my colleagues to support this amendment.